Thank you. I've stopped pretending it's cold out. It's cold out. It's cold out. I was pretending that it was warm. I wore a cute shirt. It's cold in. It's cold inside. Why is it so freaking cold in here? They are laughing. No, they're not laughing more because it's so cold. Why is it so cold in here? Is it cold in here?
Yes.
Do you think it's cold? I think it's cold. So I'm wearing my parka. All right, that was awesome. Thank you. All right, we have a couple more guests. The night is really rolling along here. Good clip. 11 o'clock. That's not too bad. Not too shabby. All right, well, I'll present my next guest. The one and only Gare Joyce!
Love Daryl Purvis. A mark of a real pro is that when he's looking at his phone, the tension builds. Inside baseball. So, I've never had a drink of Coke in my life. Not one. I've never drank soda. Right? My mother convinced me that Coke was Satan's soda, and I just quit all of it. And the irony of this will come into sharp focus shortly. So lots of comics out there, just imagine that I'm making a nice segue right here. I think the legalization of weed was long overdue. I think we can get general agreement on that. Yeah. Hello? Yeah. They did not address what should have been a priority. I'm talking about the criminalization of root beer. On the highway to hell, every en route station has an A&W. Now, I speak about this because it comes from life experience. Before I was an award-winning writer, I was in fact an award-winning forklift driver. Yeah, at 11:30 every weeknight, 11:30 at night every weeknight, I reported for duty to a Coca-Cola bottling plant in East York, where I was gainfully underemployed. Our job on the midnight shift was to make syrup and pack syrup tanks for restaurants. They used to have these old 5-gallon stainless steel tanks. To understand this story, you have to understand a bit about pop syrup. It's basically 95% fine sugar, like finer than you can buy it in any grocery or something like that. So it's super intense. And when we were making a vat, 700 gallons of syrup, we actually loaded the sugar by the train load. A full train load of syrup. You needed 3 of them to make an 1,800 gallon batch. This stuff was so thick, right? If you put your hand in, you had to have someone pull it out for you. It was just criminally sweet. It was basically like flavored diabetes. Okay, so these tanks we would wash in boiling caustic acid. This caustic acid was so intense that it made bricks bubble, right? And it had to be a stainless steel surface that we were working around. and you know, completely rubber gloved, and you couldn't even breathe around it. It was so intense. It was actually it was actually a cause of death in the workplace. When I do my normal stand-up bit, I can't tell this story because it takes a little oxygen. But there was a tragic plumbing accident at the Coke plant. An alcoholic plumber. You know, I mean, you're surrounded by mix. What can you do? He actually misdirected a pipe with the boiling caustic acid, and he sent it into the locker room showers. Right? My buddy Red was showering, and he was hit by this boiling caustic acid, and he actually wasn't scalded to death. Parts of him were liquefied.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. They took up some of Red with a sponge, and some of Red went down the drain. So they put what was left of Red on a ventilator.
Well named.
And they just said, let's pull the plug. I mean, what type of quality of life is he going to have? Working in a bottling plant? He was never going to make foreman. No, that was a little artistic license I took there. He died instantly. I just threw that in to work the lunchroom. And they gave him the posthumous Employee of the Month award. So when we were cleaning these tanks, and this is going to double back to root beer shortly, when we were cleaning these tanks, you could put a 5-gallon tank into a washer and send it through for 15 minutes. And it could be Coke when you put it in, wash it, and you could put Sprite in there. They were interchangeable on flavors. Except root beer. If a tank was ever used for root beer, it could never be used for anything else again. You could put a tank that had root beer syrup in it and leave it on a continuous cycle for 100 hours, soaked in boiling caustic acid. And when you pulled it out, it stank of root beer. You look inside the tank, it was mahogany colored, right? All you root beer drinkers, your intestines look like Shaquille O'Neal's stool. Now, root beer actually stained stainless steel. Just think about that. But that isn't like the craziest thing about root beer. And now root beer, I've gone to school on all this. Root beer has a crazy list of ingredients. There's doggrass, spikenard. There's a variety of roots, and cherry tree bark is in it. But the really problematic ingredient in it is something called saffrol. Sassafras is a component of root beer, but saffrol is the key thing in sassafras. Now, the best thing that you can say about saffrol is that it causes cancer in lab rats. You know, because they're just rats, right? But even more about saffrol. Saffron is the key component in MDMA, right? Root beer is the first cousin of ecstasy, right? So you know those tumor-riddled rats are just like raving themselves to death. Now, I brought A&W, right? They've cloaked that. But any coincidence that the most popular brand of root beer is Hires, right? Why'd they call it Hires? In fact, Hires root beer, the name traces back to Charles Hires, who created the original formula for root beer. 1867, and he was a pharmacist, all right? You can just imagine a Victorian house with aluminum foil in the windows, right? It's like if Dickens had done his own version of Breaking Bad or something like that. Root beer was at the heart of it. Anyways, that is why I don't want you to drink root beer. Is anyone here gonna drink root beer again?
Yeah.
Where? Will you quit for me? Okay, if you can't quit for me, will you quit for Red? That's my time. Thank you. I guess I'm bringing up our headliner. Or maybe I'm not bringing up our headliner. Maybe I'm having an assistant bringing up the headliner.
I'm coming. Bring up the
There we go.
headliner.
Yeah.
I wouldn't miss this for the world.
I was lighting
And
myself.
I'm even going to take off my parka because someone turned the heat on. Not the headliner. If that's what you're thinking. No. I mean, he will turn the heat on.
He
But
does
not yet. We
bring-
got to give him a better... I wanted to... the heat is on. The heat is on. Can you feel it?
Yeah.
Apparently it's been off. Turn back on. Miracle.
Yeah.
This is a Christmas miracle, everyone. Like I said, it's Christmas time. Who's the elf? Some people don't know what the elf on the shelf is. I think that's weird, Aiden, that you don't know what the elf on the shelf is.
I
There's
don't
an elf.
either.
I think it's weird that I'm miming an elf on the shelf. That's maybe the weirder thing.
I don't think anyone knows.
You don't think anyone knows? Elf on the
No.
Shelf is the most hot. The marketing for this silly little thing. There's also a Mensch on the Bench because the marketing for Elf on the Shelf is so brilliant. The Mensch on the Bench doesn't work as well. Like I know.
What is it?
What does it do?
The Elf on the Shelf is magic. So none of you know what the Elf on the Shelf is.
I do.
Okay.
Alright,
So the Elf on the Shelf. I don't know who thought this up, but they brought this idea in that. All good Santa Claus lovers everywhere, good Christians everywhere, for the month of December, the elf is going to come and appear. It will appear at random spots around your house, here, there, and everywhere. And he's listening. The elf on the shelf is listening. They're now female elf on the
Do you have
shelf.
to buy it?
You have to buy it. It's at Indigo in wide display. Toys
Magic
R Us.
Land.
Yet kids still think like they'll go and they'll be like, oh, you can buy this at Indigo, but not. And then that's where it goes like, and then they're like, but not ours, right, Mom? Ours just appeared, and it's like, yeah, ours just appeared. Not one of these knockoffs elves on the shelves at Indigo. Like it's like this thing. Like ours just appeared. Everyone, we've got a real one, and my kids say that to Larry all the time, who's like my lovely boyfriend who thinks this is stupid because it's everything Christmas is so not religious. He's Jewish and everything they do, all their traditions are based in real, I'm talking about you, Larry, are all based in real religion. And his brilliant son, who was like 9 at the time, or 10 years old at the time, was like, Dad, why are all the Christians, all their holidays, nothing to do with anything religious? The Easter Bunny, Santa. And I was like, yeah, we look like idiots. And now we've got an elf on the shelf.
Beer or something like that?
Yeah, I have.
So
I just
Elf
think
on
it's
the
an
Shelf is
interesting.
Santa's
I
spot.
think it's an interesting.
Oh.
Elf on the shelf. So the elf on the
Is that what
shelf appears. So this is the new thing to bolster Santa. and up sales everywhere. Like and the parents can use this up. Oh, you can't be yelling at your sister. The elf is listening and is going to report. So you have this, month of bliss. You basically have 25 days of bliss where kids have to behave well. And now they brought out clothes for the elves and and emails from the elves. There's like apps and it's just gone mental. The way Santa Claus probably went from he was probably just on a shelf and now he's coming down your chimney. I don't know. It's fucked up shit. All right, so it's been a good night.
Yes.
But we have
New friends of the show.
new friends.
Casual friends. Of
Casual friends.
The show. Yes. So.
Yes.
And now, a friend of the show. Our youngest friend of the show.
Our youngest friend of the show. He gets a whole other area. Completely. All right, well, let's bring him up on 3.
1, 2, 3.
Kyle Lucy!
Heard of elf on the shelf, but you're a hag on a rag? Yeah! Period out the front.